Can I ask you? You mentioned this a couple of times.
Yeah.
What what is the primary difference, or why did you choose to do the globals that way as opposed to having a separate module, or you know?
Right. So the
Yep.
way you're encouraged, and Rob wrote an article about this. He encouraged people to use a module.
Hmm.
The way he said to do it was to create a file, and I'll show you what the file looks like. So if we just pretend that this is the beginning of our file, he would do local m equals da 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 da, and then he'd do m dot w equals, let's say, equals 320, and m dot h equals whatever 480. Return m. Okay, so this is the contents of the module file. Somewhere else, he would type, assuming that m is the name of the file. You know, I could call it. Let's say I called it globals was the name of the file, and the content of globals was this little bit here. Then he would local m equals require. The first time this runs, this bit of code would execute. It would create a table. It would assign these two values. It would return the table. Every other time in every other file after that, if this same bit of code was executed and we required it again, it would simply return m, because modules are initialized once, the first time they're loaded, and kept in memory forever unless you unload them. Okay, so now what we have is m in our local space. So I could say m.w for the width, or if I had I could create center x. Say center x is 160 pixels. I could say new circle. I'm sorry, display dot can't type. New circle. And center x, you know, yada yada yada, more things. Oh, I'm sorry. See, there I'm already doing it. M.center x. Okay, so the reason I don't use modules is because I am super lazy. I know that I have a limited set of globals. I always use the same ones. I know that I will never create conflicting functions or variables that override them, and I don't want to go through the trouble of requiring this and then using the longer m dot something something name, or, you know, if I'm somebody who's a little bit more, the word starts with a but I won't say it, you know, I could call it like glob or something. Those are my globals. Then I gotta type glob, and I just hate it. Personally, I hate it. Now, this is why people will yell at me. They'll say, Ed, you're just being lazy. You're telling people to do the wrong thing. The lesson here is know what you're doing, know why you're doing it, make a decision, and stick to it. People
Okay.
will tell you you're wrong, but as long as you know what you're doing and you're careful, it's fine.
So if we took the module approach, we'd have to require it in every file that we wanted to use it in. But
Yes. You'd have to
the
require it every time you used it.
but with the other method, it's just globally available everywhere.
Yeah, and the thing is, I found is I used to do the module method, but then I would find myself in these strange situations where my module needed to know about some contents from another module. So I had this cross conflict where they both needed to know about each other. But then I knew that I was initializing them both first before I used them, and so I said, heck with this. I'm just going to go ahead and make these globals. And so I did.
So once you crossed over into that territory, you just found yourself saying, "Well, whatever. I'm already there."
Yeah, you know, it was a decision that I made, and I'm sticking with it.
It,
So,
you know, globals do get a really bad rap. We're taught in computer science classes to never use globals, avoid them at all cost. But after a few years of programming, there are just simply times when a global fits the bill, and it makes your life easier as a developer.
you know what I tell people? I say, hey, if you weren't supposed to use globals,
They wouldn't exist. Yes.
They tell new programmers not to use them because new programmers will then use them for everything.
Yes.
And that's when you get in trouble.
Right.
I see it all the time when I help people in the forums. They've done something with a global. They didn't realize it, and that's why they got shot in the foot.